I remember the first time I heard her say it. It was at a dinner party, our 4th anniversary. She had a glass of rose in one hand, her phone in the other, and she was laughing too loudly at a story her coworker told. Somewhere between the laughter and the refill, she leaned into her friend Leah and said, "Please, if he ever left, I could replace him in a week. Maybe less. Men are a dime a dozen." They both giggled. I laughed too, kind of. The way you do when you're not sure if something's a joke, but you hope it is. I played it off. I always did. But I remember that night, her voice echoing in my head long after everyone left. I remember standing by the sink, rinsing wine glasses, wondering how many other times she'd thought something like that and never said it out loud. It hit like a quiet slap, one of those remarks that doesn't draw blood but leaves a bruise anyway. Back then, I still believed we were solid. Strong. Sure, we had our rough patches. Who doesn't after 5 years of marriage? But I never doubted the foundation. Until that dinner party, until that offhand comment, until I realized how quickly she'd started taking me for granted. You don't notice the erosion right away. It's slow, subtle. It starts with little things, like her missing dinner without texting, choosing girls' trips over our anniversary weekend, laughing louder at other men's jokes than she ever did with mine, noticing how her phone always faced down, locked tight like a vault. She started posting solo pictures, captioning them like she was single. Living my best life cherry blossom, and no man, no stress, while I was in the background paying the mortgage and cooking her damn favorite lemon chicken. But I told myself it was just a phase. Stress from work. Burnout. Maybe she just needed space. So I gave it. I gave her space, patience, kindness. I kept showing up. I planned date nights. Wrote her notes. Tried therapy. Alone at first because she said she was too busy. I kept thinking if I just held on a little longer, the woman I fell in love with would show up again. The one who used to squeeze my hand 3 times. Our secret, I love you. But that hand stopped squeezing back. It all came to a head last fall. We were supposed to spend the weekend at her parents' cabin upstate. Just the 2 of us. I booked the time off, packed the car, even stocked the fridge with her favorites. Friday afternoon came and went. No call, no text. At 7:14 p.m. she sent a message, "Can't make it. Something came up." Something came up. That was it. When she got home Sunday night, she smelled like hotel shampoo and someone else's cologne. I didn't ask. I already knew. Still, I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just shut down. Something inside me quietly folded. That night, I lay beside her in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we got here. Wondering how the same woman who once cried when I left for a week-long work trip could now vanish for a weekend without explanation. A month later, she asked for space. "I need to find myself," she said. "I'm not happy, and it's not fair to either of us." She made it sound noble, even generous. Like this was mercy, not abandonment. So I moved out, gave her the apartment, took my clothes, my books, my silence, and left. You know what's funny? She didn't even ask where I was going. For 3 months, I lived in a small loft above a bookstore a friend of mine managed. I started running again, reading, sleeping, eating alone, but not unhappily. I got used to quiet, to the stillness, to not having to explain why I didn't feel enough. Then something strange happened. The text started. From her. "Hey, I miss talking to you. Can we get coffee?" I ignored the first few. Not out of spite, just because I didn't know what to say. She hadn't missed me when I was there. Why now? Eventually, I agreed to meet. Neutral cafe. Public space. Safe. She walked in looking like she hadn't slept in days. Sunglasses on even though it was cloudy. She sat down across from me, held her latte like it was anchoring her. "I made a mistake," she said. I didn't say anything. She tried to laugh it off, her old defense. I thought I'd feel free. I thought there'd be options. You know? I nodded slowly. And she looked down. Nothing. I get ghosted left and right. No one wants to talk. The guys I like don't respond. The ones who do, they're not you. I stirred my coffee. It's like, I don't know. I thought I could replace you. Turns out I can't even get a text back. There it was. The confession. The irony. The woman who once bragged that I was replaceable, just another man in line, was now realizing what I'd always quietly known. Consistency, loyalty, love, effort, they're not mass-produced. You don't find them on a dating app or flirt them out of a stranger at a bar. I took a deep breath, not to be cruel, but to steady myself before saying what I had to. I used to wait for you to remember my worth. Now I don't need you to. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't offer comfort. She'd walked away thinking I was the disposable one. Now, she was sitting across from a man she couldn't reach, not because I blocked her, but because I finally stopped waiting to be chosen. I didn't go home that night. After the cafe, I walked. No destination, just forward motion. The way you do when your body needs to keep going even if your mind's a mess. There was this quiet relief, this unfamiliar weightlessness that came from finally saying what I'd held back for months. Years, if I'm honest. I'd spent so long trying to be the man she wanted, the man who stayed. I didn't realize how much of myself I'd buried in the process. It wasn't anger I felt. It was something colder. Not cruel, just final. When I got back to the loft, I found her last message already waiting. I don't blame you for not wanting to fix this. I just wish I'd seen it sooner. I never responded. Truth is, I think part of her expected me to come back. Maybe not right away, but eventually. She had that kind of confidence, borderline arrogance, that assumed she'd always have options. That people, especially men, would orbit her like planets, even if she was burning them up. And for a long time I did. I orbited, revolved around her life, her moods, her wants, until I drifted far enough away to see what that orbit had cost me. In those weeks that followed, I started noticing things about myself I hadn't in years. I laughed more. With friends, with strangers. I found myself enjoying silence instead of fearing it. I no longer checked my phone hoping she'd text, or panicked when she didn't. I'd go days without even thinking about her, and when I did, it wasn't with longing, it was with clarity. Like remembering a dream that used to haunt you, but now barely stirs anything at all. Then came the invitations. Her sister's wedding. A mutual friend's birthday. Events where I knew she'd be. I declined the first few. I wasn't ready. But eventually, I said yes to one. A mutual friend's engagement party. I arrived late, hoping to slip in unnoticed. But that never really works, does it? The minute I walked in, I saw her. She looked different. Smaller, somehow. Not physically, just quieter. That air of superiority she used to wear like perfume. It was gone. She gave me a soft smile, the kind that wants to be friendly but doesn't know if it's allowed. We didn't talk that night, just exchanged glances across the room. And even in those fleeting seconds, I could see it. The regret. I heard snippets from others over time. How the guy she'd left for ghosted her. How her Instagram, once full of curated adventures and captions about freedom, slowly became a gallery of quotes about self-love and healing. I wanted to feel something when I saw them. Maybe triumph, maybe pity, but I didn't. Just distance. She texted again a few weeks after the party. Do you think people can change? I stared at it for a long time. There was a time when I would have written her a novel in response. Now I just typed. Only if they want to. Not just when they lose something. She never replied. And I think that's when it really sank in, for both of us. The woman who once believed love was replaceable had finally learned that connection, real connection, isn't something you can just summon when it's convenient. It's not a backup plan. It's not an ego boost. It's built, over time, in the quiet spaces between fights and forgiveness, between choosing each other even when it's hard, even when it's messy. She used to talk about love like it was a game she'd already mastered. But now she was on the outside of it, watching. And me? I was finally living like someone who knew his worth. One evening, I ran into Leah, her friend, the one who laughed at that dinner party. We bumped into each other at a bookstore, of all places. She looked sheepish, said she'd always felt a little guilty, that it was just a joke, but now she realized how cruel it must have sounded. I nodded. I didn't want an apology. I didn't need one. But before we parted ways, she said something that stuck with me. She used to think men were disposable. Now she can't even get a text back from a guy who works at the juice bar. I almost laughed. Not out of spite, just out of disbelief. Because that's what she used to say about me. That I was too soft, too predictable, too easy to get. Turns out, in a world full of games and filters and emotionally unavailable people, easy to get was the rarest thing of all. It was sometime in March, nearly a year after the cafe meeting, when she called me again. I didn't answer. I didn't even hesitate. I just watched the screen light up, then fade to black. But something about it lingered longer than usual. Not the call itself, but the voicemail she left afterward. Her voice cracked a little when she said my name. I don't even know why I'm calling. I guess I just wanted you to know. I get it now. All of it. And I'm sorry. For real this time. I listened once. Just once. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger. Not to be cold. But because I didn't want to carry it anymore. Her apology wasn't for me. It was for her. A final attempt to soothe her own guilt, to close a door she shattered long before she wanted to walk back through it. And I was already gone. I'd moved cities by then. Took a job offer in Seattle. Started over with nothing but a couple boxes, a better understanding of myself, and a freedom I hadn't felt in years. My place overlooked the water. I'd wake up to fog rolling across the Sound, drink coffee on the balcony, and feel, finally, peace. I dated again, eventually. Carefully. Slowly. And when I met someone who laughed at my dry jokes and didn't need constant validation from strangers, I realized how much of myself I had dulled down in my last relationship. How often I had made myself small to make her feel big. How I had measured love by how much I could give, even when nothing came back. This woman, Elena, was different. She didn't need saving. She wasn't trying to replace anyone. She just wanted to know me. The real me. It hit me one night while we were making dinner. I was chopping vegetables. She was dancing in her socks to an old Otis Redding song. No phones. No pretense. Just music and garlic and two people existing in the same rhythm. I looked over and thought, this is what I was missing all along. Not fireworks. Not chaos. Just presence. That weekend, I got a DM from someone I hadn't heard from in a while. Leah. Again. She was apologizing for the laughter at the dinner party, for the role she played in those casual humiliations that had once felt so small to them, but so sharp to me. She ended the message with, "She talks about you sometimes. Says she didn't know what she had. Says no one stays anymore. Not like you did." I didn't reply, not because I wanted to be cruel, but because it didn't matter anymore. The version of me that needed those words, that version no longer existed. He died in silence, at a dinner table, in the quiet pain of being dismissed, of being called replaceable by the very person he loved most. And in his place stood someone who knew better now. It's easy to take someone for granted when you think love is abundant. When attention comes easy. When your ego's fed by options. But attention isn't love. Options aren't commitment. And real connection doesn't survive where arrogance lives. She bragged once, loud and proud, that she could replace me without breaking a sweat. Now, she scrolls through apps, hoping for half a conversation, a spark, a sign that someone will stay, that someone will care long enough to send more than WID. She gets left on read by men who don't even know her name. She went from curating her life for admiration to chasing scraps of affection from people who can't even spell consistency. And me? I learned that the greatest peace doesn't come from proving someone wrong. It comes from realizing you don't need to anymore. I don't need her to see my worth. Because I do. And that's what makes me truly irreplaceable.